The world does not reward fairness, it rewards awareness. Betrayal is not an exception, it is a pattern. Displacement is not an accident, it is a mechanism. Those who cling to idealism get confused by this truth and collapse under it. Those who see it clearly adapt. Survival belongs to the ones who stop being shocked by reality and start reading it. Power is not always visible, yet it is always felt. It moves through rooms without speaking. It rearranges outcomes before arguments even begin. This is dark intelligence, not born from cruelty but forged through loss, humiliation, and defeat. Where others fracture, you refine. Where others react, you observe. Where others burn energy in outrage, you conserve it and redirect it forward. While emotions flood the surface, you operate beneath it. Most people move pieces blindly, believing the game is honest. You learn to see the board. This knowledge is not a weapon for destruction, it is armor. The purpose is not domination, but protection, not villainy, but clarity. Understanding the game prevents you from being consumed by it. Dark intelligence is not loud. It does not announce itself. It listens longer than it speaks. It studies before it moves. It strikes only when timing has already secured the outcome. The first distinction between those who endure and those who are used lies in how much of themselves they reveal. Power weakens when exposed too early. The intelligent conceal their full intent. They disclose only what serves the moment. When people receive fragments, they complete the picture themselves. Their imagination becomes the lever that moves them. This is not deception. It is disciplined communication. Most people bleed information without realizing it. A question is asked and they feel compelled to empty themselves in response. Motivations spill out. Plans are confessed, fears are explained. They believe openness creates trust, yet it dissolves leverage. Mystery does not repel people, it draws them in. When everything is revealed, nothing remains valuable. When restraint is practiced, attention sharpens. Influence grows where curiosity lives. Curiosity grows where answers are incomplete. A predictable response makes you invisible. A measured response makes you memorable. This does not require secrecy about everything, it requires selectivity. The powerful do not lie. They edit. They allow others to lean forward rather than lean away. They understand that information is currency. Spend it carelessly and you become poor in influence. Spend it strategically and your words gain weight. When people know you do not speak impulsively, every sentence carries gravity. The goal is not to appear mysterious, but to control your narrative. When you decide what is known and what is withheld, relationships stop controlling you and start aligning around you. The second distinction is adaptability. Those who survive understand that a single rigid identity limits reach. The intelligent do not present the same face to every situation. They adjust without losing themselves. Every interaction has a different language. Every environment responds to different signals. Speaking the same way to everyone is not authenticity, it is laziness. Effectiveness requires variation. You already do this instinctively. Your tone changes across contexts. Your posture shifts with purpose. Adaptive intelligence makes this deliberate. It recognizes that people process reality through different filters. Some respond to logic. Others move through emotion. Some need structure. Others need vision. Using one approach for all guarantees resistance. Adaptation is not falseness, it is precision. Like water, intelligence flows into the shape required without ceasing to be itself. Values remain fixed, expression adjusts. Those who confuse authenticity with sameness sabotage connection. Authenticity is alignment between inner principles and outer action, not repetition of behavior regardless of consequence. Mastery of adaptation allows you to enter any room without friction. People feel understood because you meet them where they are rather than demanding they come to you. This is influence without force. In negotiation, leadership, and alliance building, this skill determines who is heard and who is ignored. Yet there is danger here. Adaptation without a core becomes submission. The intelligent never abandon their foundation. Integrity anchors flexibility. Principles do not bend, presentation does. The strongest individuals contain multiple dimensions while remaining structurally intact. They are not fragmented by context. They are sharpened by it. When this balance is achieved, others sense stability beneath variation. That stability commands respect. The third distinction is detachment. Freedom begins where dependency ends. Anything you fear losing gains control over you. Attachment clouds judgment. Fear distorts perception. Those ruled by loss accept conditions they should reject. They tolerate disrespect to preserve comfort. They betray themselves to maintain approval. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means sovereignty. Caring without desperation is strength. When outcomes do not own you, clarity returns. Decisions become cleaner. Vision widens. The one willing to walk away always negotiates from advantage. Detachment dismantles manipulation. Threats fail when nothing essential is held hostage. Pressure dissolves when approval is irrelevant. The individual who does not need validation cannot be steered by it. This does not create recklessness. It creates calm. Effort remains. Commitment remains. What disappears is panic. The paradox is simple. The less you grasp, the more options appear. Confidence is not certainty of success. It is certainty of survival regardless of result. Practice begins small. Release the need to win every exchange. Release the hunger to be universally liked. Release the fantasy that plans must unfold exactly as imagined. As detachment grows, something shifts. People adjust toward you. Respect increases, influence expands. Not because you demand it, but because you cannot be controlled. Detachment is not coldness. It is disciplined care. You remain engaged without being enslaved. This is the threshold where dark intelligence becomes unshakable. Part B. The fourth distinction is silent leverage. Power does not need volume. Those who announce pressure reveal insecurity. True influence settles into a space quietly and alters behavior without issuing commands. Silent leverage is the ability to shape outcomes by positioning rather than confrontation. It is patience weaponized through restraint. Instead of forcing compliance, you allow circumstances to do the work. Instead of demanding attention, you become essential. Presence replaces persuasion. When people stumble, overreach, or expose weakness, your silence becomes heavier than their noise. Most mistake power for aggression. They raise their voice, repeat demands, and escalate emotion. This creates resistance. The intelligent reverse the rhythm. Silence unsettles. Pauses invite disclosure. When a difficult question is asked, the immediate answer carries little weight. A measured pause reframes the exchange. It slows the tempo and forces attention. People rush to fill empty space. In doing so, they reveal far more than intended. Control of rhythm is control of dialogue. In negotiation, silent leverage appears as optionality. You do not threaten to leave. You simply can. When alternatives exist, desperation evaporates. The other side senses this and adjusts their posture accordingly. Words are unnecessary. Willingness alone changes the equation. In relationships, silent leverage emerges through value creation. You contribute without begging for recognition. Consistency replaces pleading. When presence improves outcomes, loyalty forms naturally. Demands dissolve. Influence solidifies. In professional environments, silent leverage is built through reliability. You solve problems repeatedly without announcement. Over time, people orient toward you instinctively. Authority grows without titles. Requests come without solicitation. Decisions bend subtly in your direction. This form of power requires patience. It does not gratify instantly, it compounds. Seeds are planted quietly and harvested later. Many abandon this path because results are delayed. Those who endure it inherit stability. Patience is not passivity. Action continues beneath the surface. Moves are made without spectacle. Strategy replaces reaction. When silent leverage matures, you become a gravitational force. Advice is requested, approval is sought. Leadership emerges without self-proclamation. Yet ethical restraint remains essential. Influence should not be used to harm. The highest form of leverage aligns interests rather than exploits weakness. When outcomes benefit all involved, power sustains itself. The fifth distinction is psychological echo. Influence deepens when people feel seen. Most communicate to express themselves, not to understand others. The intelligent invert this. They listen for what is unsaid. Every statement carries emotion beneath information. Every complaint masks a desire. Every anger hides fear. Psychological echo is the ability to reflect this hidden layer back to the speaker. When people recognize themselves in your response, trust accelerates. Humans do not pursue objects. They pursue relief, recognition, security, freedom. When these needs are mirrored accurately, resistance dissolves. Understanding precedes persuasion. To practice this, observation must sharpen. How someone speaks about work reveals identity and anxiety. How they describe relationships exposes patterns and unmet needs. Most listen only to reply. The intelligent listen to decode. Every interaction contains unspoken questions. Am I noticed? Am I understood? Do I matter? When your presence answers these without flattery, bonds form rapidly. Psychological echo reflects meaning rather than words. It identifies the emotion driving the narrative and brings it to the surface with clarity. This does not solve problems immediately. It validates experience. Validation opens doors that advice cannot. When someone expresses frustration, the inexperienced rush to solutions. The intelligent pause and mirror the underlying struggle. This creates alignment. People feel less alone. Influence grows not through instruction but resonance. Once resonance exists, ideas land naturally. Positioning follows understanding. Suggestions framed through another's values encounter little resistance. Security-oriented individuals respond to stability. Recognition-driven individuals respond to achievement. Freedom-seeking individuals respond to autonomy. The message remains consistent. The framing adapts. This skill carries ethical responsibility. Reflection without care becomes manipulation. Psychological echo must be grounded in genuine attention. When used to exploit vulnerability, it corrodes trust. When used to guide and support, it strengthens relationships. Influence rooted in empathy endures longer than influence rooted in deception. The sixth distinction is moral ambiguity. Reality does not operate in clean lines. Outcomes matter more than appearances. This does not mean abandonment of ethics. It means recognition that complex systems demand complex decisions. Sometimes kindness in the moment produces harm later. Sometimes firmness prevents greater damage. Those who cling to surface morality often enable dysfunction. Those who understand consequence think beyond optics. Ambiguous morality focuses on responsibility rather than image. Decisions are evaluated by impact, not applause. In leadership, this becomes unavoidable. Protecting the group may require removing an individual. Telling the truth may require discomfort. Avoiding harm sometimes demands confrontation. These choices are not cruel, they are pragmatic. The intelligent accept accountability for difficult outcomes rather than hiding behind appearances. This perspective requires boundaries. Without them, ambiguity becomes justification for selfishness. Clear internal lines must exist. Certain actions remain unacceptable regardless of context. Integrity anchors pragmatism. Within those limits, flexibility operates. Different environments require different responses. Absolute honesty may heal in private but damage in negotiation. Disclosure becomes strategic rather than impulsive. Those who navigate ambiguity well are often misunderstood. Approval is not guaranteed. But effectiveness replaces popularity. The aim is not universal admiration. It is sustainable outcomes aligned with core values. Moral ambiguity is not moral emptiness. It is mature judgment applied to an imperfect world. This trait demands courage. Responsibility cannot be outsourced. Consequences must be owned. Yet when practiced with discipline, it allows protection of what truly matters. Simplicity feels virtuous. Complexity delivers results. Dark intelligence lives in that tension and remains steady within it. The seventh distinction is controlled exposure. Power weakens when everything is visible. In a culture addicted to disclosure, restraint becomes rare and therefore commanding. When people know less, they assume more. Those assumptions guide their behavior and often work in your favor. Controlled exposure is not secrecy for its own sake. It is intentional revelation. You decide what enters the shared space and when. This preserves leverage and protects identity. Curiosity is a fundamental human drive. When information is incomplete, the mind rushes to complete it. This tension pulls attention forward. Those who reveal everything eliminate curiosity and become flat. Those who reveal selectively remain compelling. Think of the individuals who hold attention effortlessly. They do not narrate their entire history. They disclose pieces slowly, aligned with trust and timing. Mystery is not a trick, it is a boundary. In professional life, controlled exposure means pacing competence. Displaying every ability immediately removes future leverage. Revealing skill gradually creates momentum. Each contribution reinforces value without exhausting it. You are seen as consistently useful rather than initially impressive and later ordinary. This shapes long-term perception. Growth appears continuous. Relevance remains intact. In social contexts, controlled exposure preserves depth. Relationships strengthen when disclosure unfolds naturally. Oversharing compresses intimacy artificially and often creates imbalance. Selective sharing honors pacing. It allows trust to grow instead of being forced. This does not mean withholding truth. It means matching disclosure to relationship depth. In negotiation, controlled exposure protects position. Revealing constraints prematurely invites exploitation. Holding information allows adjustment as conditions evolve. Once revealed, information cannot be withdrawn. Timing determines power. Strategic silence often outweighs immediate transparency. Digital presence amplifies this principle. Every post contributes to perception. Once released, it cannot be reclaimed. Intelligent individuals curate their digital footprint deliberately. They understand that perception precedes interaction. Mystery online increases authority offline. When little is available, attention sharpens. Controlled exposure is not manipulation, it is self-governance. You shape your narrative rather than surrendering it to impulse. This balance is delicate. Withhold too much and connection suffers. Reveal too much and leverage disappears. Mastery lies in calibration. The intelligent reveal enough to build trust and withhold enough to retain agency. The eighth distinction is outcome obsession. Results define reality. Arguments, appearances, and intentions are irrelevant if outcomes fail. Most people mistake motion for progress. They confuse effort with effectiveness. Outcome-focused intelligence strips distraction away. Every action is measured by a consequence. Ego dissolves under this lens. Outcome obsession reframes conflict. Instead of seeking victory in debate, the intelligent seek behavioral change. Instead of proving correctness, they pursue resolution. Sometimes agreement matters less than compliance. Sometimes silence achieves more than argument. Desired results determine strategy. In professional settings, outcome focus prioritizes impact over visibility. Projects are chosen for effect, not praise. Decisions follow data rather than politics. Productivity replaces busyness. Time is allocated where return is highest. Learning becomes targeted. Skills are developed for application, not admiration. In relationships, outcome focus preserves harmony. Winning arguments at the cost of trust produces loss disguised as victory. The intelligent choose battles strategically. Minor irritations are ignored. Fundamental issues are addressed calmly. The relationship outcome guides behavior rather than emotional impulse. This approach reveals inefficiency quickly. Activity without progress becomes intolerable. Strategic minimalism emerges. Less is done, but more is achieved. Energy concentrates, momentum builds. Flexibility increases because attachment to method disappears. Goals remain fixed, tactics evolve. Outcome obsession requires ethical framing. Results pursued without values destroy foundations. Integrity must be included in the definition of success. Long-term outcomes matter more than short-term gains. Trust, reputation, and stability are outcomes too. When ethics align with effectiveness, influence becomes sustainable. Adaptability strengthens under this mindset. When a strategy fails, it is discarded without resentment. When conditions change, direction shifts smoothly. Pride does not anchor behavior. Commitment exists to outcome, not approach. This resilience separates professionals from amateurs. Reputation compounds through delivery. Those known for producing results attract opportunity. Responsibility increases, challenges escalate, influence expands, people seek those who execute reliably. This becomes self-reinforcing. These distinctions together form dark intelligence. Not manipulation, but immunity to manipulation. Not dominance over others, but command over self and circumstance. Awareness replaces illusion. Strategy replaces reaction. Calm replaces chaos. The most dangerous individual is not the one without fear, but the one without clarity. The most valuable individual understands human behavior and moves within it without becoming consumed. Dark intelligence serves protection first. It prevents exploitation. It secures autonomy. Responsibility remains central. Power without discipline corrodes. Strategy without ethics collapses. The intelligent remember why they sought clarity. Not to harm, but to avoid harm. Not to rule others, but to remain unruled. As these traits integrate, perception changes. Situations slow down. Options multiply. Emotional storms lose force. People reveal themselves without pressure. Outcomes align without force. Dark intelligence does not make you feared through threat. It makes you respected through consistency. It does not seek attention. It commands it quietly. This is not a path of shortcuts. It is a path of patience. Observation before movement. Calculation before commitment. Silence before speech. Those who walk it are rarely understood early. but they are rarely displaced later. Power settles where clarity lives. When intelligence governs emotion rather than the reverse, survival becomes inevitable, and inevitability once sensed becomes authority. Authority does not announce itself. It becomes visible only after resistance stops forming. Dark intelligence matures when the need for recognition fades. The final stage is integration, where traits no longer feel separate but operate as a single internal system. At this point, behavior becomes quieter, more deliberate, almost unremarkable on the surface. That is where its strength hides. The individual no longer seeks validation for insight. Understanding itself becomes sufficient. When awareness replaces emotion as the default response, situations lose their ability to provoke. Insults fall flat, provocations dissolve, manipulation attempts become obvious before they gain traction. The intelligent are not immune to feeling, but they are no longer governed by it. Emotion becomes data rather than directive. This shift alone separates those who endure from those who implode under pressure. Integration reveals a deeper truth. Power is not about control over others, it is about control over access. Access to your time, your attention, your reaction, your energy. When these are guarded, external forces lose leverage. People begin to approach differently. They test boundaries subtly. When boundaries hold, respect forms without negotiation. This stage often feels lonely. As reactivity drops, alignment narrows. Not everyone can coexist with clarity. Some rely on chaos to feel significant. Others depend on emotional hooks to maintain influence. When these no longer work, distance appears. This is not loss, it is filtration. Those who remain are those who relate without manipulation. Dark intelligence refines ambition. Goals become precise. Noise fades. The desire to impress dissolves. The desire to execute remains. This creates an internal economy where energy is spent only on actions that compound. Rest becomes strategic. Silence becomes productive. Movement becomes intentional. At this level, timing dominates force. The intelligent wait longer than others can tolerate. They allow patterns to reveal themselves fully before intervening. Impulsive actors expose their weaknesses through speed. The patient inherit leverage through restraint. When action finally arrives, it appears sudden only to those who were not watching. This patience is often mistaken for hesitation. It is the opposite. It is readiness without urgency. The intelligent do not rush to participate in every conflict. They choose arenas selectively. They understand that not every battle deserves presence. Withdrawal becomes a tactic rather than surrender. Ethics sharpen rather than erode. With clarity comes responsibility. The intelligent recognize the weight of influence. They avoid unnecessary harm, not out of weakness but precision. Damage creates instability. Stability preserves power. Long-term advantage replaces short-term dominance. As reputation solidifies, opportunities shift in quality. Fewer options appear, but each carries greater consequence. Decisions matter more. The intelligent accept this gravity without fear. They have trained themselves to evaluate without panic. Detachment now serves discernment rather than escape. This integration produces a subtle confidence, not bravado, not arrogance, a grounded assurance that outcomes can be navigated regardless of variables. Loss is no longer catastrophic. Failure becomes information. Success becomes confirmation rather than identity. Others sense this stability. It alters interaction dynamics immediately. Conversations slow. Posturing decreases. Games lose appeal. Those seeking advantage test gently and retreat quickly when they find none. Those seeking alignment move closer. Dark intelligence at this stage becomes invisible. It does not need signaling. It is recognized intuitively. Like gravity, its effects are felt rather than seen. Influence emerges naturally. Leadership becomes unavoidable. The final realization is simple. Control over self produces freedom. Freedom produces choice. Choice produces power. This sequence cannot be reversed. Those who attempt to control others without mastering themselves create fragile empires. Those who master themselves become immovable. The journey does not end here. Intelligence requires maintenance. Awareness dulls without practice. Discipline erodes without intent. The intelligent remain vigilant not against enemies but against complacency. Ego is the final adversary. When it returns, clarity dims. True power remains humble because it understands its source. It was earned through observation, restraint, and accountability. It was not granted. It was taken back from chaos. This is the nature of dark intelligence. It does not corrupt. It clarifies. It does not dominate. It stabilizes. It does not shout. It endures. Those who embody it rarely announce their philosophy. They simply move differently. They listen longer. They react less. They decide once. They act precisely. In rooms filled with noise, they are quiet. In moments of panic, they are calm. In systems built on illusion, they see structure. That is why they survive when others collapse. Power settles where clarity persists, and clarity, once internalized, cannot be taken away.